New York Rangers, Mika Zibanejad has really turned into an absolute superstar since joining the New York Rangers from the Ottawa Senators in the Derek Brassard trade. Now, he did have a couple really good years with Ottawa. His second last year there had 46 points, and then his last year there had 51. So, had really good, couple last years there in Ottawa. But after a couple seasons with the Rangers, in his third year with the Rangers, had an absolutely breakout year where he had 74 points in 82 games played, 30 goals, 44 assists back in the 2018-19 season. And that's where he really, kind of had a big breakout year and really showed what he can do. And then in that 2019-20 year, obviously had that absolutely massive year. Unfortunately, COVID screwed him from reaching 50 goals, and that would have been an amazing milestone to get, and he was going to hit 50 goals. If you don't remember, he was on an absolute freaking tear in that last month and a half or so before the season got canceled. He was on absolute fire. He had ended up with that in that season, 41 goals in 57 games played, 34 assists, 75 points in 57 games played. Absolutely nuts. He was on absolute fire, and it really does suck. And it just, as a Rangers fan and a guy who is a huge fan of Mika Zibanejad, it sucks to see, because I would have loved to see him hit that 50 goal mark, and I don't know if he's gonna actually hit it again. I mean, we've seen a couple of years now where he's gotten fairly close, we could say. Obviously, this past season had 39, but that 50 goal mark, I just don't think he's going to be able to reach that. Obviously, I would love to see him do it, but I just don't know if that's pretty realistic. I still think he could be a consistent 35, 40, maybe 45, maybe goal scorer, and do that consistently. It's definitely pretty realistic. I think he's going to be around that kind of 40 goal mark for the next, 4 or 5 seasons, I think you could say. I mean, he still only is, 30 years old, turning 31 next April. So there's no reason to think that he can't be a consistent 35 to 40 to 45 kind of goal scorer for the next 5, maybe even 6, 7 years. You never know, right? His game, I think, is going to translate quite great into his later years because of how his two-way game is, how he's a big kind of 6'2", really strong in the puck, great puck control, just a big body, and his game isn't about, flying by everyone with his speed. I think his game works quite well when he's going to be older. So he still should be able to, post up for those 1-Ts, use his shot to create. He still has pretty good vision, good hands, that kind of stuff, really good passer. I think overall his game will translate very well into his later years. I think this contract as well is going to look absolutely fantastic. I was a huge fan of this deal when it was signed. Obviously some people kind of thought it was a bit of an overpay, but $8.5 million, especially once the cap, let's say in 2 years, once the cap jumped up, 8, 9, 10, whatever it's going to be mil, this contract is going to look like a, $6 million deal or something. It's going to look absolutely fantastic. It's going to look amazing. And trust me, it will look like a very, very good deal. And this is a guy who is also, he's not, no offense, I'm not trying to shit on Jack Hughes or anything, but let's be honest. Jack Hughes is a offensive, amazing, elite player. Not saying he isn't. But Mika Zibanejad is a dynamic two-way player. Mika does it in both ends. He is a offense and defensive absolutely fantastic player. He's on PK1 for one of the top 10 PKs over the last couple of years. He's a very good two-way player, and that's something big about his game is he's not just this guy who posts up on the power play and only scores in the power play. That's all he does, and he's okay 5-on-5. He's a good 5-on-5 scorer. He's a great power play scorer, and he's a great overall player. His two-way game is quite fantastic, and that is something to take note of as well, as his overall game is really good. He's not just a one-way offensive player. He has a good two-way game. One of the better overall two-way players, and if you look at the Selke voting over the last few years, he has better Selke voting numbers than a guy like Sebastian Aho. And I did a video on that comparing kind of Aho and Mika Zibanejad, who was the better player. And obviously, I think it's Mika Zibanejad. I mean, maybe I'm being biased. You can say what you want, but I looked at the stats. I broke it down, broke in the voting, broke down everything, the stats from the past years, their defensive numbers and everything. And it does kind of say that Mika is the better overall player. Now, if you want to say Sebastian Aho is the slightly better defensive player, okay, but the overall player is Mika Zibanejad. He's the better overall player if you're counting in offense and defense. I don't really see how you're going to argue that Mika isn't better than Sebastian Aho. But that is obviously another video I posted, so definitely go check that out. Posted a couple weeks ago. But getting back to this topic here, Mika's contract is going to look absolutely fantastic in the next 5, 6, whatever it is, years down the road. This contract will look great. I'm telling you that right now. You can quote me on it. Come back to this video, mark it down. This contract will look great. He's a great player, and barring any crazy injuries, there's no reason to think that Mika can't continue to be an absolutely fantastic, elite, two-way centerman in the NHL. I definitely think it's going to continue. And Mika has also been a really good playoff scorer as well. This past year had 4 points in 7 games played, so not the craziest numbers, but still quite solid, especially for how the overall team played this year. I thought he actually was one of the few. Him, Foxy, Igor, Lindgren, a few other guys you could say. Everyone else didn't really show up, but a couple guys, including Mika, I thought played at least decent. I don't think Mika played up to where he normally plays, or back when he on that deep long playoff run against Tampa wasn't quite as good as there, but still overall I thought he was actually one of the better players on the Rangers, but doesn't say much because of how they played, but still he played pretty good. And in that deep long playoff run against Tampa, had 20 games played, 24 points. He also had a good playoff run back in 2016-17 with the Rangers, where he had 12 games played, 9 points. Overall numbers in the playoffs, 58 games played, 16 goals, 31 assists, 47 points. He has been a great playoff point producer, and that's definitely something that you want to see. And the takeaway giveaway ratio and stuff like that, he has been actually pretty decent. I mean, this year had 57 takeaways, 67 giveaways, and 24 of those giveaways were in the defensive zone. So not terrible. You'd like to see a bit less defensive zone giveaways, and that was kind of up to where, up higher than what he normally gives up. The previous year back in 2021, he had, 62 takeaways to 58 giveaways, so had 5 more takeaways and 9 less giveaways and 8 less defensive zone giveaways. So obviously was better in that sense in 2021, but overall I think is a guy who's normally going to be fairly close to the same takeaway giveaway ratio, and hopefully can have 20 or less defensive zone giveaways. I'm sure that will come down this year. And over on the faceoffs as well, he's not the best faceoff guy in the world, but definitely not the worst. 49.5 faceoff win percentage is not terrible, not the best, but not terrible. And back in 2021 did have a 52.3 faceoff win percentage, which is just fantastic. So hopefully he can get back closer to that 50 win percentage on the faceoffs, but overall, he is a fantastic two-way centerman. And in the playoffs as well, actually had a great takeaway giveaway ratio, having 12 takeaways, 5 giveaways, and 1 defensive zone giveaway. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please smash the like button and definitely comment down below your guys' thoughts on Mika Zibanejad and how good do you think he's going to be and how good do you think he's going to be this upcoming season. I think we're going to see a 40-goal year, maybe 50-something assists. I think we're definitely going to see another probably 90 points out of Mika as long as he can stay healthy, which he has been for the most part over the last few years. Thanks for watching, and see ya.